I am guilty of all 7 of these, y'all. I'm so guilty of these. 7 unintentionally gross things that we all might be doing with our sunscreen or sun protection gear. Hi, I'm Sean, Melanoma Mom here. Welcome to my channel. Subscribe before you go. I do sunscreen reviews over here and we talk about skin cancer and how to prevent it. I am a melanoma skin cancer survivor on a mission to test out all of the sunscreens for you and tell you which ones are the best at protecting out there. I am hyped up on the, this is not a product placement, on the Cortado, the new Cortado. I did have to add 2 splashes of Chobani creamer because it was, bitter. I am guilty of all 7 of these, y'all. I'm so guilty of these. So if you are also guilty, let me know down below. I think we are all trying to improve how we apply sunscreen, how we choose to protect our skin from the sun to prevent skin cancer. I know I'm always learning from you all in how I can better protect my skin. The first one we probably all are guilty of that's so gross is not washing our hands before applying sunscreen to our face. And I know you're thinking, why would you not wash your hands before you applied sunscreen? Because if you're like me, you automatically think, oh, I put it on in the morning. I wash my hands before I do skincare. But there are other circumstances that I've been thinking about where I do not wash my hands before applying sunscreen to my face. Now, why would that be gross? Well, our hands touch so many things and then we transfer it to our face and then we wonder why we have breakouts, right? Or we might get sick with a virus because we've touched things and then we've touched our face, around our mouth, around our eyes, around our nose, and bacteria, viruses. Ugh, confession time. When I'm at the pool and I need to reapply, there's nowhere to wash my hands. Just reapply to my face. At the beach, yeah, totally guilty. If I'm out hiking, sometimes I have hand sanitizer with me, but I'm certainly not washing my hands with soap and hot water out there in the middle of the forest. Amusement parks, I may get like a wet wipe and quickly wipe my hands down, but sometimes if you forget that, you're thinking of protecting your skin, just slapping it on your face. Wash your hands. We need to be more aware of washing our hands. Number 2, not wiping off our stick sunscreen before we use it on our face. And possibly after. I don't know about you, but my sun sticks, they pick up everything on my face, right? A lot of mine, if I'm not careful of this, it gets really gross. Like it'll take off my foundation on my face. I'll get sweat on my sunscreen stick and it gathers around the edges. As you can see here, I'm sure I'm showing you my sun sticks that are still gross. This is one that I need to improve on. I do not wipe them off. I don't know why, because all of that sweat and dirt that's on my face is just transferring back on when I use the sun stick again. It's gross, y'all. It's gross. If we could just take a moment to quickly wipe it down. I don't know about you, but I keep Kleenex in my car. I could wipe it down with a Kleenex afterwards. I could use a little wet ones. You know, do you guys keep the little wet ones in your purse or your bag or your car? Constantly, I have wet ones. Just wipe it down. Even a napkin, the drive-through napkins that we all gather in our vehicles, we could use one of those. I am so guilty of this one. This is one that's really gross, that thankfully I am not guilty of this one, okay? Because I have no problem carrying multiple sunscreens around with me nowadays. Applying the same sunscreen stick or SPF compact to the back of your hands that you are also using for your face. Okay? And it comes down to, we in society, we don't wash our hands enough. And so here we are, we're using that sunscreen stick because I understand we all want to carry one stick or one SPF compact with us around to reapply. It's so convenient. Why we would need to bring 2, one for our face and one for our hands, when we can just bring one. We apply it to our back of our hands, we put it on our face. We put it on our face, we apply it to the back of our hands. And our hands are so germy. It just goes back to that, just being so germy. Everything we touch, not washing our hands enough, it's gross. It's gross, gross. Before being diagnosed with skin cancer, I had one thing of sunscreen. I used it for everything. And I did not use it enough, hence why I got sunscreen. Then I started adding sunscreen to my routine. Y'all introduced me to sunscreen sticks, and I did. I started applying to back of hands and face, and I thought, this is gross. So I actually now use like a moisturizing sunscreen in my purse. I'll use like little sample ones, or sometimes I do carry an extra sunscreen stick just for my hands. But I do have a lot of moisturizing ones that I love to use that have SPF in them, so that I'm not transferring from face to hands and back again. It's gross. It's gross, y'all. Sharing a sun stick with another person, or even the powder ones with the brushes, like Brush on Block, or I think Hawaiian Tropic also has one. Y'all, I'm so guilty of this to this day, especially in the summertime. I'm so guilty sharing sunscreen. And right now it's sharing with my daughter. She's 7 years old, and I don't want to carry extra sunscreen around with me. So I try and label hers, right? She'll have one, it'll have her name on it, a sun stick, or the SPF powder with a brush. Have her name on it. But sometimes, y'all, if we're in a pinch, use it on my face, use it on her face, and we're just transferring our germs back and forth, and dirt. Kids are dirty. Kids are sweaty, and we're sharing. It's just not hygienic. We shouldn't be doing it. It's gross, y'all. I understand in a pinch. I'm totally guilty of it. And as much as I want to change this habit, there will probably be circumstances in my life where I'm going to have to share a sunscreen stick with my daughter, and I'm going to do it. But it's gross. All right, here's another germy hand thing, okay? This right here involves this right here. Applying sunscreen to our face, neck, ears, nose, eyes, while also being on our phone and having our phone in our hands. Because this is germy. How often do you guys wash your phones? I have one of those little LED UV phone washers. I think I've used it twice. Maybe I use it once a year. Our phones are gross. I do wipe down my phone. Not as frequently as I should. And by wipe down, I mean I probably wipe it down once a month. That's gross. Now that I'm thinking about it. I'm touching this right now. I'm talking about this. I'm thinking, there's so many germs on my phone right now. And then I go and I apply stuff to my face. Just be aware, because our phones, man, they got so much germs. We take our phones into the toilet. Yeah, we do. We do this. We take our phones into the kitchen. We drop our phones. I don't know how many times this phone jumps out of my hand onto the ground outside, in a store that's gross. I pet my cats. I have 2 cats. I pet them and I touch my phone. Wanting to hand sanitize right now. When I get off this video, I'm going to go plug in my little sanitizer and sanitize my phone, because I've just grossed myself out. We're guilty of it. I'm guilty of this one. We just need to be aware. We're gross. We're just gross human beings. So guilty. We're spreading bacteria and viruses all over our faces. And applying expired sunscreen to our face and to our body. Before I had skin cancer, I 100% was guilty of this. Expired sunscreen. We're putting it on. It's probably broken up. It's probably not even effective anymore, right? It's not even working. We're just slapping it on our face. The product has probably separated, and we're like, oh, it's separated. We'll just mush it together in our hands, and it's fine. And then we'll just apply it on our face and on our body, and the stuff is expired. Typically, when you open a sunscreen, you want to use it up. You definitely want to throw it away after a year being opening. I like to write the dates on my sunscreens. Now, this is a habit that is difficult for me. If you're still using the same bottle after a year and you don't have a lot of sunscreens, you're definitely not wearing enough sunscreen. A couple months back, probably over the summer last year, I was talking to my father and he jokingly goes, "You mean that sunscreen that's been in my Ford for at least 10 years is no good?" I said, "No, Dad. No, 10 years, you're still using the same sunscreen?" He says, "Yeah." And then he goes off telling me a story how he knew the guy who created this one brand of sunscreen, and I can't remember the exact brand, but he knew the guy when he was down in Florida. The guy was into cars. My dad's into cars. And he went off in a whole story. And I'm thinking the whole time he's telling this car story about this guy who invented this sunscreen, I'm thinking, no, you need to go throw that away. How do I get into your car to throw your sunscreen away? Because he has had multiple basal cell cancers removed from his face. He knew he shouldn't be using the same sunscreen for 10 years, but it was still down in his car. So don't do that. When I was a kid, raise your hand if you grew up in a household like this. Parents didn't know better. They didn't know about expiration dates of sunscreen. And we would use the same bottle of sunscreen 2 years in a row, Florida, on vacation for our weekly vacation. There are 4 of us in a family. We'd be passing that bottle around, and if it was still half full, mom would bring it out again next year. So don't do that either. Let's throw away our expired sunscreens. I did declutter sunscreens this year, so if you want to see that video, I'll pop it up right here if it's already out. If it's not, it's coming. This is something so many of us do. I do it. And it's disgusting, and I'm going to show you my hats. Wearing a hat is disgusting. It's so gross. And I'm talking about the band. It gathers your sweat. It gathers dirt. It gathers your sunscreen and your makeup, and that band gets so gross. And they say you're supposed to wash it. How are you supposed to wash a hat? Now, I know some baseball caps you can just throw in the washing machine, but they just don't come out the same. And I have so many UPF 50 hats that I was wearing, and I was like, I don't know what to do about this. I tried and wipe them off. I wasn't quite successful because I use them every day. And then I tried the sweat. They make specific golf sweat liners that you can put in the inside of your hats. And I thought, oh, this is genius. It'll catch the sweat. I can peel it off, remove it, and throw it away. Well, the problem with those, and I recommended them to you guys, is they are expensive. I think it was like 3 for $7 or $12 on Amazon. That's expensive. Well, then I saw a TikTok of this girl using a panty liner in her hat as her hat liner. So when my mother and I, this past summer, we went to Hendersonville, North Carolina for their Apple Festival, I wore a hat and I tested out the panty liner trick, and I will never go back. It's fantastic. Get you some panty liners. I'll link down below which kind I used. Stick them. They stick super well, right? Because they're supposed to stick in your underwear really well. They're not supposed to budge. They don't budge in your hat either. And they're supposed to gather all the moisture. Darn it, they do that. They literally gather all the sweat from your forehead in that panty liner. And when you're done, just peel it off and your hat's just as clean on the front of your forehead. Now, I can't, unless you want, I guess you could rim your entire hat in them. That's an option. If you have problems with breakouts on your forehead, it's just gross to wear a hat because you're just putting the sweat back on your head. So I recommend women's panty liners. You can't see them. And they don't fall off, because my fear was we're going to be walking around this Apple Festival and that panty liner is going to fall out of my hat and onto the ground, and then I'm going to be embarrassed. Darn it, it didn't move. That panty liner didn't move. One last thing, bonus tip that I just thought of, that has to do with UV gloves. I have recently, and by recently I mean the past year and a half, gotten into wearing UV gloves in the car. Absolutely love them. I have so many pairs. Make sure you're washing those gloves. We're touching the steering wheels. We're touching the gear shift of the car. You might be taking your UV gloves to the nail salon to protect your hands from the UV lamps. Make sure we're washing those gloves every week, at least every week, changing them out frequently. I now have multiple pairs, so I can throw them in the wash and then still have a pair in my purse or in the car. Love, love, love UV gloves. I will link my favorites down below. Especially love the Coolie Bar ones because they have the grippy texture on the hands. Super light. They're not hot at all. I know you think gloves in the summer in the heat, your hands are going to be sweaty. No, no, they're breathable. The technology in UV gloves has come a really long way. Let me know, what is something gross that you have seen other people do when it comes to sunscreen or sun protection? Leave it down below. I would love to hear them. Should I do a part 2? Let me know. Today is a great day to wear sunscreen, y'all. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.